pressing the pause. They said, ma'am, you are being.
When I began my page about 3 years ago, this was one of the major angles I was coming with, which is basically I created a major conversation point to tell immigrants coming to Canada, don't. But not for the same reason that most unmelanated or racist Canadians, because let's be very honest that the vast majority of Canadians are quite racist, even though they're so nice. It's because that racism is so deep and so ingrained that it is fatal. It is fatal to Indigenous people. It is fatal to immigrants as well. The fact is, in Canada, in New Brunswick, a few years ago, we had a situation where a man who just had an organ transplant, he was told that if he got certain indicators, he had to come to the ER immediately for immediate emergency attention. He came, I think he waited for 5 or 8 hours or something along this line again, until he dropped dead in the middle of the emergency room waiting area. He was an immigrant. And it's not uncommon. And this is why Canada does not collect very much data regarding race. Because if they did, they would have to be acutely honest about the systemic discrimination that fundamentally causes a large percentage of people who are immigrants to just die, be mutilated, have irreversible damage, get sterilized. And if that sounds familiar, it's because the data is very similar to that of Indigenous people in Canada. And I want to highlight this specific point where even when we try to advocate for ourselves, we somehow have to have a tone about it. We have to be civilized while we're being left there to die. Kind of like when I had the 14-week ectopic pregnancy and kept begging for medical attention. Until I was finally wheeled in with a less than 25% chance of surviving the surgery. Or the fact that in many of my jobs, the fact that I faced discrimination within the company from the companies themselves, when I called it out, I somehow had to manage my tone about it. Because it's not like they were threatening my livelihood. Quite literally, through an act of anti-immigrant discrimination. I've quite literally had to defend myself in an emergency room waiting area from a psychopath man who was double my size and highly intoxicated, heavily on steroids, coming and assaulting me, while security did jack shit all. But if I expressed how much pain I was in, holy shit, did we have problems. This is the norm. And yes, I understand to all the unmelanated people who are going to come in here, well, it affects Canadians too. I don't give a shit. Because you're not the ones being lied to and extorted tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in a lie that brings you here. You continue to sit here either willingly because you're willfully cognitive dissonant, or because you've been financially screwed and gaslit so much through your non-education that you have no idea that there are other options in the world. I'm talking about the people, that there are actual agencies making money for every head they recruit to come as immigrants into this into this country. Because that's what's going on. These are commission-based organizations. And they do get paid for every head that they bring in. Or immigration lawyers make a killing out of these individuals as well, who also come in and get screwed by the system because they're traumatized and shocked that the system is not what they were promised it would be. And all of a sudden they spent all this money and they may not get a citizenship after all, or a government changes and enacts a whole bunch of new procedures that weren't there before they spent every single last penny of their life savings. So, to add insult to injury, not only is there no medical care for anybody, not only is the medical care system archaic and the medicine offered itself is archaic. Do you know that Canada has one of the highest number in the world of people who actually die of cancer? Especially for a socially democratic country that implements a socialist system somehow in our Medicare, allegedly, somehow. But that's neither here nor there. Your doctors are leaving because your citizens are racist, which leaves you with a shortage of doctors and no medical care. And those same racist people are often the boomers, the ones that need us the most. And you want us to come here and bring our families and have them risk their lives simply by existing. The common denominator isn't just a system. It's the fact that it definitely affects more Indigenous and immigrant peoples, especially with South Asian hate and discrimination being at its peak lately. And I know what that feels like because I'm a Muhammad from the 9/11 era who also happens to be African. Regardless, this is your reminder. If you are considering immigrating to Canada, you're being promised a lie. And even if you come here and somehow manage to survive, your next generation will pay for it. And there is no turning back. Because not only are you not getting what you were promised, this is an empire on the brink of decline and collapse. Don't spend your money here. Because if you do, you can't build a solid foundation on stolen land. And if that is the country's core principle and its main raison d'etre, then what the hell do you think is going to happen to you? Do you feel the discomfort yet?